We're seeing, tell me when we're live. Are we live? We are live. Okay, hello everybody.
Hello.
It's me. Dad, say hello to the stream.
Hello, stream.
Alright, if you guys don't know what this is, it's the best meme from 2019. It's, you plug a controller into the computer and then you get like quadruple, quintuple bonus mega acceleration and it barely doesn't affect anything, but it's technically a different category.
So it really only takes it definitely takes like half a second to accelerate in this game, but you can
If
just
that.
yeah, but you can just shorten it by another fraction of a second if you plug in more input devices to accelerate you in any direction you choose. Well, you can only do forward and backward with a controller, right? I don't think you can strafe.
Yeah, in fact, if you press anything off from like straight up or down, it'll start turning hair, and you're probably gonna see that a lot by accident. May want to mute your phone, Dad.
It's just the vibrate.
I know, but turn off the vibrate. I'll do it myself too. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. Max is gonna be your commentator extraordinaire. All right, are we ready? All right, I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you
Sorry, I'm gonna be focusing too hard on running, so Max is gonna be handling the commentary.
you are still on the old save, like you haven't restarted your game yet? Folk lol sing. Thank you, Mark. All right. 3, 2, 1, start. Oh, apparently not start. Oh, there we go. All right, so starting off Willow, it's pretty much the same as most of the main categories except for 100% in glitchless. You basically just start off and immediately run and do luggage boost to run straight to the end of the level. You're actually going to see a different strat for brightness boosting here, where Ted doesn't do reloading. He actually uses a property of the level select menu, which for whatever reason works without debug mode on, where you can use it to cancel the other menus and get menu glitch, and basically just hit pause, click on the brightness slider from the main menu, and then hit F4 to cancel out of that menu. And it's a very quick way of boosting if you aren't able to reload, or if you choose not to reload. So the way co-op works is basically Ted's dad has a controller plugged into the computer, and with that controller, if you hold up or down on the joystick, Harry will run either forwards or backwards depending on the direction you're holding. And so if you do that in combination with holding up or W and whatever your forward keys are on the keyboard, you can accelerate just like slightly quicker. And so that's exactly what they're doing to just move a little bit quicker. If you notice there, Ted actually jumped up those two specific staircases, And the reason for that is because those staircases are not actually steps, they're invisible slopes. And so when you jump up a slope, you move slightly quicker than walking because of the way the velocity vector works, essentially. And so here we're going to see Ted actually do the arrow key challenge. And so the reason for this is because you don't actually have to collect the final challenge star in the level, which would give you additional house points. And so because of that, you can take the house points here and skip the final challenge star by hitting an end level trigger. And so that allows us to save time here by not having to wait to fail the challenge, but also still get an optimal time in the Bean bonus room. Yeah, so Ted actually has his music volume set to 0 because of the way he does menu glitch, or because of the menu glitch. Basically, when you do menu glitch, it doesn't realize that you have unpaused the game, and so it will play the pause music the entire time, and it sort of gets a little bit distracting at points, and so that's why he chose to turn the music off for this run.
Well done, Harry. You've advanced to the next round. 10 points to Gryffindor. Round 3.
Also, another interesting thing, you could probably, if you turn the volume way up, still hear the music, because 0 on the volume slider is not actually 0. It's just very, very low.
Fabulous work, Harry! Aren't you glad you've learned from
So Ted got lucky here. Actually, not incredibly lucky, but luckier than, I guess, being unlucky. And didn't get a fake input. Fake inputs are not the most common on Rick December. They're usually the worst on Scourge. So there, yeah, what we saw there, that little jerk in the camera turn, that was just sort of like an issue like with the joystick where it can be tough to move it like perfectly upwards, and so that's just sort of one of the troubles of co-op, or using a joystick, I guess. Actually, Wizard Kid, Ted has his in-game volume scrolled all the way to the right, which means everything is maxed out. So he does that, and then he turns the volume in Windows Volume Mixer down. So basically, all the sounds in the game are balanced, and so Aragog isn't actually Aragog isn't actually louder than many other things in the game. So yeah, I guess I just got really unlucky there. I haven't actually seen that before. So I'm not really sure. Oh, you know what? I think what happened is like the crab just maybe slid like too far or something. Yeah, that's just really unfortunate. Yeah, I have never seen a speedrun of this game. No idea why Ted told me to commentate. So there we see there we saw Ted actually get that slick jump through the bars there. So had instant acceleration coming out of it. No save book again. Oh man, this guy likes to take risks. All right, well let's see if Ted gets unlucky again. That'd be pretty incredible. Okay, so that time we were safe. We're all right. No soft lock. To Mr. Onirox 99, Ted says thank you, but I am an idiot. So it looks like you might be able to speed up this puzzle by pause casting to hit the flipendo switches, but as shown there, you actually have to wait for the rotating puzzles to make their full rotation before you can hit the switches again. And so Did your live split stop? Oh no, that was on stream, sorry. And so yeah, you actually just have to wait for the full rotation before you can hit the switches again. So here we're gonna see the legendary Chasm jump. Oh, almost. Essentially what you want to do is you want to get a long ledge grab there so you can boost directly up onto the platform above and skip this little challenge where you have to bring the staircase down. It's a metal staircase. So here's where we're going to see Ted go and boost straight up to the end level trigger and skip getting the final challenge star to save getting a couple house points. Actually, I think it's more than a couple. And so the way Ted actually knows where he is right now is by looking at that little hole in the pause menu in the top left of it. And so instead of stretching his game like vertically to make it taller, he can just see straight through the pause menu. So since Ted actually has a decent chance, I'm not sure anymore, at least based on that Rictus Emperor. But since Ted thought he might have a decent chance of getting a PB this run, he's actually local recording and running live split as well. Okay, so he just told me he forgot to local record, but he is running live split. So we will get an accurate time on this run.
You can use your arrow keys to steer your broom left, right, up, and down. If you have enough beans, you can buy Quidditch upgrades from Fred and
So this is actually the most interactive part of the speedrun, where you basically just sort of sit and stare at your computer screen and wait for things to happen. It's a very, very in-depth, very active game of Quidditch.
You will automatically close in the snitch.
What happened was McDolly's timer, like live split, crashed, and
That's it, Harry. Give them a good nudge so you can catch the snitch.
you're starting to drop frames, Ted. Other one. Oh, it's going. Ooh. Okay. I think we're back. Yeah, it was going really glitchy there for a second. Just F5 VLC.
Sorry,
Okay.
undertook.
This leads to the dungeons.
So Ted just told me not to tell absolutely anyone, but we're gonna announce on stream that this is still PB pace. Have to go for Scourge tonight.
Nah.
So here, to avoid playing two cutscenes at once and soft locking, Ted waited on top of the chest there for a second before mixing his potion. So here again, we should see. Oh wait, no, we're going to buy. Or yeah, Scourge. So we see him jump up the stairs to avoid walking on a slope again. We'll see that where it saves the most time later in the run when we get to Chamber. So it looks like Ted was about to like fall right off the stair there. But the way that the geometry in this game works is just sort of broken, and so the collision for the stairs actually extends farther than they visually appear. And so he was able to stay on top of them there.
Has 3 levels. In each level, you must successfully hit all of the arrows.
So here's where the
Ready to try.
highest chance of getting a fake input happens in the run. And so basically there's nothing that can be done to stop it from, but sometimes you will just fail the arrow key challenge with pretty much nothing you can do to stop it.
Well done, Harry. You've advanced to the next level of the lesson. 5 points to Gryffindor. Round 2. Go. Well done, Harry. You've advanced to the next level of the lesson. 10 points to Gryffindor. Round 3. Go.
Alright, on to the final level, where hopefully we, for the 3rd time in a row, avoid a fake input. That'd be pretty lucky. It usually happens... it usually happens on the set that Ted just did right there. But it looks like he was alright. Got lucky this run. Got unlucky earlier, so he had to get lucky this time with the soft lock on Rick Decembra. So here at the start of the level, Ted holds a specific set of inputs to set up his angle so he can just run up to the wall and jump and perfectly get Scourge Kit pretty much every time. And so there we see a perfect execution of it. Just jump straight to the end of the level. Now Harry gets sent to the dungeons where he has to go and collect a piece of bicorn horn for the what's the name of the potion? The potion that makes him look like Goyle. The Polyjuice potion. That's what it is. So Ted actually was able to pause cast on those 2 Flipendo switches there to just very, very quickly hit them in succession so that there wasn't waiting in between hitting them, so he could bring the bridge or the platform down just slightly quicker. Thank you there, Liam. Okay, so Ted is going to try to hit the fire crab at a very precise time. It basically allowed it to slide right into its hole. Looks like he unfortunately missed it there. It's pretty tight, the window for hitting it. It's a very cool trick where it'll just slide right across the room. It's really cool. So here Ted is just using his Year 7 magic to kaboom the snails right into their cages. Oh, here's a really cool trick where if you run at the wall at a specific angle, you can get a wall walk, and use it to walk straight over this maze here. Normally you cannot just jump over the maze because there's an invisible wall on top of it, but you can actually get under that invisible wall with that wall walk there. So Ted is going to try the entirety of wheel skip with with the co-op threats. There he was trying to get a wall walk to jump right across this gap because you can't make it actually without one. So there we see the wall walk. And here Ted is making heavy use of the animation canceling tech, where the game sort of forgets that Harry is jumping if you use your casting animation while you're jumping. And so that resets your ground speed to your walking speed, and so you can move just slightly quicker in the air. You can move as quick as you can in the air as you can on the ground if you do the animation canceling tech. But you can't normally if you just jump without doing anything. You move slightly slower.
I'm in the potions classroom. Better keep an eye out for Snape.
So coming up here, Ted is going to try a trick called Fast Malfoy, where basically, immediately upon starting the fight, he moves forwards and tries to get a Rictus Semper hit on Malfoy. And him moving forwards basically makes it so when he releases a spell, he's just slightly closer to Malfoy, so it hits him just a little bit quicker. And it saves, I think, like half a second, maybe a second.
Today, Potter, you will have the pleasure of dueling the great Slytherin house.
So it looks like Ted missed the charge there on the Rictus Semper. So here Ted's going to try the famous Ron bounce, where when going down the stairs here, you can bonk on Ron's head all the way down. Looks like he was a little bit slow and just missed it there.
Now, Mr. Potter, please fix your gaze on the symbol in front of you. See the pointer? It's about to move its way around the shape. When the pointer passes directly over the arrow, press the corresponding arrow key. This exercise is in 3 parts.
Sick, would you mind explaining what baguette percent is?
Progress.
I mean,
Ready to try? Round 1.
I don't think Flo needs to do baguette percent as much as he needs to do pasta without ketchup in it percent. Yesterday Flo was telling me he was eating pasta and he put ketchup in it instead of like actual sauce, and it traumatized me. It definitely is. So here, failing the error key challenge, it only loses I think like a second or so. So it really isn't always worth it to do it.
Try again, Mr. Potter. Concentrate, Harry. Once again. All right, Mr. Potter.
Can I continue exposing the HP community? I don't think there's much else to expose. So the platforms that are in this next section of the level here were later on in the level, they get raised up because you casted a Lumos Gargoyle, and so they made them grabbable, and because of that you can just ledge grab them with a pretty tight jump and boost straight to the end. And then you just have to push 3 snails into some holes and then grab the final challenge star. So with some pretty precise movement here, you can actually beat Ron to the greenhouse. Normally he runs quicker than you, but with just some better pathing, you just barely beat him. So Boomslang is another one of those levels that is just super like wide open and outside. So you can just boost straight to the top of the level and walk to the end essentially. And once he does that, he can just jump into this ledge at a very shallow angle, and that just pops him right on top of it. And then he can grab the boomsling and be on his way. So coming up here is Dumbledore's skit, and Ted is basically going to get on the first staircase in the grand staircase and jump while the staircase is moving, and get to the second staircase without hitting the second platform, and basically skip a 2-minute unskippable cutscene where you just talk to Dumbledore and go on a little detour. So there we see him get the skip perfectly. He even got the quick jump onto the railing of the staircase. Very nicely done. So if you notice like that flickering on, well, I guess I'll explain this first. If you hit this cauldron here, when you do not have full health, the one back in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, there's a chance that you will get a chocolate frog, and that is useful for Goyle jump, which we'll talk about later. But if you notice like some flickering you see in the corners there, that's actually because Ted is playing on 16-bit color depth, and I have no idea why, but it just makes some things render sort of strangely. So here's a cool jump where Ted can skip a small little puzzle here by doing a jump around this little window here, or around a little pillar into the window. So here, I think this might be the biggest boost in the run, where he'll grab this ledge here and get on top of the roof of this building, and just skip a little section with some snails and an elevator. So here Ted's going to try I think this is a wall walk I found back in 2016, where you can skip this little crab fight by just jumping onto the wall, or at the wall in a specific way. So, yes, perfect. That is exactly what is happening. So Ted is basically just giving him a slight boost. Sometimes you'll notice a little bit of jerkiness, but that's just because trying to control the joystick is very imprecise. So there's actually a chocolate frog coming up here, and Ted's going to grab it just to get a little bit of extra health for later on, just to be safe. So here Ted's going to try another wall walk, where you can skip doing a little bit of extra walking. Unfortunately there he got a lower one, so he failed the trick. But it would just save, I think, if I remember, it's about 8 seconds extra of walking. And So here we grab the bit of Goyle. What do you mean it's out of sync with the Discord delay, Sayek? For the RTMP? Can I just see that by hitting pause and play? That didn't work. Okay, I think I'm... Oh, now my VLC isn't playing anymore. Okay, I think I have to restart VLC. Okay, I think I'm back. Should be good now. Oh, really sick. Well, thank you for letting me know. I will keep that in mind.
Pure blood.
Right now.
The password.
Okay.
You can use that
A
to
second or
get
two?
into the
Alright.
Slytherin common room.
So if it sounds like I'm talking just like to myself, I can actually still hear Ted, and he can still hear me. So sometimes we'll just make a few quick notes. So in this room coming up here, the collision, well, because the room above, like that whole turning room moves, the game doesn't really know how to calculate the geometry, and it sort of breaks a little bit. And so sometimes the spell cursor is very imprecise and at aiming at the switch or the defender ropes in that room. So here is 120 FPS RTA segmented only, task only bridge skip, where with a couple precise jumps you can avoid hitting the ectoplasm and sticking the bridge, and you can just jump right across, just like that. Very nicely done. So here again, we're going to see Ted jump down these little ramps here, because it's just slightly quicker than walking down them. Yeah, so co-op actually makes it just very, very slightly easier. So if you look at some of the walls here, for whatever reason, there's like this bug in the game, or in the engine, or in the editor, I think even, where some of the walls just don't get like smooth. So some of the textures just look like straight Minecraft on low texture resolution. Kind of silly. So it looks like Ted didn't take the optimal line there when he ran into the center of the room. But actually that cutscene trigger is, like, the shape of it is such that running into the center there is actually the quickest path you can take.
Something's not right. Professor Snape!
Hey, come back here!
Yeah, so the way co-op affects the run is essentially you can accelerate very slightly quicker if you have a controller plugged in, and use that in conjunction with the keyboard and mouse. So here, coming up, Ted is about to learn how to infuse rubber into carpets and jump really high. And the SpongeBob challenge is really straightforward, with brightness boosting at least, because you can just zoom straight to the end because it's a vertical level, and the end is exposed. The doorway isn't closed at all.
In front of you is going to move around the shape. When the wand is positioned perfectly over the arrow, press the corresponding arrow key to hit the target. There are 3 parts.
Not possible.
In each part, you must correctly and accurately hit.
I would love
all
to
of the
see someone
points
try to
in
do
order
this with their
go
feet.
forward.
That'd be incredible.
Round 1, begin.
What if you had like a foot pedal with analog input, and it counted as like a joystick, and you could just vroom? Can you imagine driving Harry like a car? That'd be incredible. How do you damage boost? I'm not sure what you mean by damage boost. If you mean brightness boost, the second player doesn't do anything in that case.
Round 2.
The only thing that the co-op player actually helps with is accelerating Harry.
Done, Harry. You've advanced to the next round. 10 points to Gryffindor. Round 3. Begin.
So basically, on a controller, if you use like the left joystick, Harry will move forwards and backwards. And in this game, if you stack multiple forms of moving in one direction, you basically increase his acceleration rate, or not his acceleration rate. And so you can essentially just accelerate just slightly quicker. It really doesn't, like in the grand scheme of run, it probably doesn't actually help, but it's just sort of a fun thing that you can do.
Spongify.
Yeah, pretty much what Wizard said. So while Ted was actually trying to make his jumps higher here, he actually doesn't need to because his arms are enough to just whale him straight to the top of the level. I imagine this without the pause menu, where Harry's arms are just so buff that he can just fling himself like a bird. As far as I know, Ted and his dad have done a couple practice runs before the marathon here.
Spongify.
So currently Ted is only 22 seconds behind his personal best, which means this has a chance of getting a PB. If you use 4 controllers, I don't know if you can use more than 1 controller. Yeah, you can, actually. Just confirm. So Ted turned around there to shoot the cauldron because there's a chance he could have gotten a frog.
Gotta get you out of here.
And that basically just helps with the basilisk fight. So this is another deviation from the any percent route where instead of warping out of this cutscene, since it's warpless, you just have to watch it, and yeah, nothing you can really do. Ted is not going to go for Scourge Attack because he has not practiced it enough and doesn't know the setup.
Come on. The least Hogwarts can do is make sure the thing that killed that girl is slaughtered.
Are we gonna get to see MB Hagrid, Ted?
He wouldn't. He never.
Stand
There we go.
No.
So the camera doesn't actually collide with anything here because Harry doesn't collide with him, and so you can get very, very close to the actors in the cutscene. And so here is where, if you have arachnophobia, you may want to look away for about 5 or 6 minutes. Actually, it might be longer than that. I forget how long it is. But the forest split. There are a lot of spiders. And they're really big and mean. So here, hopefully, we'll get to see another run bounce where, if you do it right, you can, there we go, bonk on his head and get into the cutscene just slightly quicker. Yeah, so normally Aragog is super loud here, but Ted has his game volume set to 100, and the volume in the Windows volume mixer turned down. So actually all of the sounds are relatively balanced, and so Aragog isn't as terribly loud here as he is in some other streams, perhaps. so it's somewhat bearable. But that doesn't change the fact that it is a very interesting fight to listen to. So Ted's going to do a trick here where he's going to grab one of these ledges very close to the wall. That's actually going to place him inside of the wall so he can skip a ledge grab and pop right on top of it like that. So there are sort of a couple ways you can get up to this next section here that isn't the intended route. Ted is going to do the boost that is typically done in 100% because he's not familiar with the other boosts that you can do. And so here is where you may want to prepare yourself for some extreme sights if you do not like spiders. You can warn. So these webs here actually don't lose their ability to be hit the instant that they go away. So what you can do is hit the same ones multiple times and not have to run around the whole arena hitting the webs. And then you just sort of have to cast Rictus Emperor at Aragog until he dies 4 years early. But he somehow respawns by the time HP6 comes around so he can die a second time. I mean, he looks pretty dead at the end of the fight. So Ted lost a little bit of health there at the end because he got gooed by the spider. The air goo. Alright. So we're still on PB pace here. Only 21 seconds behind PB. Maybe if we see the super hype Scourge Knight, we'll just see it. So we're not going to get to see the Scourge Knight, unfortunately. Ted does not know the trick. So if you are really cool and avoid all the ledge grabs and stuff here, you can just run straight through these slicers and not have to worry about getting hit because you'll just be on a perfect cycle. And so here you're supposed to go up to this the second level where there's this crusher that gets like narrower like over time, but you can avoid that by grabbing this boulder here and boosting straight up to the right side. There we go. So here, Harry really shows off his jumping abilities by jumping straight to the gate at the end, or the grate at the end. My bad. Ted's actually going to go for a 3-cycle snake instead of a 2-cycle snake, just to be safe. Okay, so we might actually see a 2-cycle snake because Ted says he wants to snatch that sweet PB. So since that pixie there is sort of just like in the way, sometimes like it's easy to just accidentally bounce on it and not hit the Spongify tile. So that's just sort of what happened there. So here Ted's actually going to do a really cool version of this bridge skip where he does a wall walk instead of falling down onto the ledge of the bridge. And there we go. So here's where we're going to see Ted jumping down this entire boulder chase. And the reason is because I mentioned earlier, jumping down slopes is quicker than walking down slopes. And so it's actually quicker for him to just jump down this entire way by about half a second. So here we see the slicer, or the pendulum break through the wall, and Harry can now progress on to the final Basilisk fight. Or the only, I guess, Basilisk fight, but it is the final fight of the game. So sometimes when fighting the snake, if you shoot the spell, like the sword spell in a specific way, sometimes you'll get like a double hit on the snake. So hopefully we'll see Ted do that here. I mean, it's sort of not really something you control, but hopefully we'll see that here for the potential T cycle. He got half health on that first cycle, so we might be seeing it here. And when he got a double hit there. Ooh, he got very unlucky there and actually died before being able to get that final hit in. Very, very close to a T cycle though. So now we're actually just going to see a 3 cycle here. Which I think is only about maybe 10 seconds slower. So there's a really cool trick you can do with the sword and like animation canceling where you can cancel like the animation like after you shoot it by taking damage and then shoot a second spell very quickly without having to charge again. And that's usually what you try to do when you do a T cycle. So there I think that was a 5 cycle. Got a little unlucky there at the end. And there we go. That is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets done Warpless by our good friends Ted and the Dadder.
Yeah, you're on mic though. Yay, we did the run.
Hooray.
Good job, Dad. Thanks for helping me out.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for the Nixo GGs, guys, and the Kappas.
I had such a big roll.
Yeah. All right, and thanks so much,
Final
Max.
Final time is 41:50.
Yeah.
On that.
Here's the splits.
Very nice.
There, hold on. There we go. More golds than I'd like to admit.
That's good or bad.
Normally it's good, but it's bad because I didn't play well. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for having us do this incredibly silly run. Okay. Over.
Yeah, very nicely done, Ted.
Thank you. Thanks for being my commentator.
Of course. No problem.
All right. Bye, Dad. Thanks for help.
Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
This is behind the laptop.
Should I stop streaming?
Give it a second. All right, yeah. Wait, let me say it again. Shoutouts to Tedder and his father for the Dadder % run. Excellent. And coming up next, we have the bonus run that you all donated for HP2 PC Jumpless by Complex Beavers. Stay tuned.